There wasn't any light coming through the little window in the feed room when the bells started ringing. I tumbled out of the sacks and went outside to the gray of early morning. The bell stopped when I hit the outside, and I stood for a minute or so getting my bearings. The truth of it was that I wasn't really awake yet and didn't know where I was. I was still thinking about the dream. Then it came back to me, and I saw some people about 100 yards away making for some tables under a big tarp. I figured that was the chow hall, so I made for it. And when I got closer, I could see that the people were all Mexicans. They were wearing those little white outfits you see in movies all the time, and straw hats with the tassel. And as I approached, 2 or 3 of them looked up but didn't say anything. "Hi." I tried it, but got no answer, so I gave it up. If they didn't want to talk to me, that was their business. I was here to hoe beats and get rich, not to make friends. I slid into the bench, bolted to the table, and sat down. There was a tin plate already there, with a spoon, and I figured that was really service until I noticed that the plate was nailed down to the table and hadn't been washed since God made dirt. There was a 1/4 inch of grease in the bottom, and when I looked at the spoon, I could see that it was chained to the table, with about a foot of that bathtub stopper chain, and was dirtier than the plate. Still, I've never been one to make waves, and if that was the way they ate around there, I'd just have to go with it. No sense embarrassing anybody. I tried to get a little grease out of the plate with my shirt elbow, doing it so nobody would notice, and wiped the spoon on my pants leg. By this time the sky was starting to lighten, and I could see the people sitting around me a little better. Funny thing, they didn't make any sound. There were women and kids there, along with the men, all sitting at those nailed-down plates, and even the kids were silent. Not a whisper. It was frankly kind of spooky. And I was on the edge of getting the jim-jams when the owner, Carl, I found out his name later when I came to hate him, came out of the big house with a huge pot of beans and a sack full of bread slices. "Good morning," he boomed, and he laughed as he came under the tarp. "Good day for thinning, warm and dry, good day." I threw him a smile, but I could see that the others at the table didn't, which seemed sour since he was being so nice. "You ready for work, boy?" he asked me, all happy and loud. "Ready for 2,000 acres of beets?" I nodded, and a picture flashed through my mind, all numbers. 2,000 acres of beets he had, at $12 an acre. That was $24,000. More money than there was in the whole world. "Eat heavy," he said, putting the pot and bag on the table, "because there's no lunch." He turned away, and I filled my plate when the pot came by. They were pinto beans, just beans, with nothing else in them except for the juice, and the bread was old and dry. But it was food, and I was hungry, and I even forgot the dirty spoon and plate while I shoveled it down, sopping the bread in the bean juice to soften it. That bread was as hard as a rock. Fast as I ate, the rest ate faster. And I saw why when Carl pulled up in a big steak bed truck. The beans hadn't been on the table for 10 minutes, maybe only 5, and he was ready to take us out to the fields. "Off and on," he yelled. "Off and on, let's go, we're wasting daylight." I got up and followed the others, carrying a piece of bread with beans on it, and climbed into the truck. By now it was full light, with the sun coming over the eastern edge of things, and I could see a barrel full of hose in the front of the truck. I got up front by the barrel and hunkered into the corner so I was braced on both sides. The rest of them piled in beside me, still silent, and we drove out to the fields, which were only about half a mile from the house. Carl stopped the truck on the edge of the road so he wouldn't have to drive in the beets, and we got out. I saw the rest of them grabbing hose when they got out, so I did the same, and was surprised to find that most of the hoe handle had been sawed off. They were only about 3 feet long. "Hey, you got any longer-handled hose?" I asked Carl, who'd gotten out of the truck and walked around to the back. "Mine's sawed off." "They all are," he said, smiling. "That's to keep you from leaning on 'em. Can't have you going to sleep on the hoe."